My sister lost all brand partnerships after I told on the podcast how she stalked a guy for 4 years. There's a specific moment when you realize you can no longer live with a secret. It's not dramatic, there's no background music. It's just a moment of absolute clarity where you understand that silence is killing you. For me, that moment came on a regular Tuesday at 2:37 p.m. when I saw my sister Natalie posting yet another inspiring video on Instagram. "Good morning, loves." Her voice was sweet, warm, perfect. "Today, I want to talk about respecting boundaries and understanding when someone isn't interested. It's so important, right? Knowing when to step back, when to give space." She smiled at the camera, that smile that had captivated 2.3 million followers. I closed the app before throwing my phone at the wall. Because Natalie Anderson, lifestyle influencer, luxury brand ambassador, inspiration for modern women, was talking about respecting boundaries. Natalie, the same Natalie who had spent 4 years of her life stalking a man who rejected her. 4 years. Let that sink in. 1,460 days of obsession, manipulation, and behavior that, if a man were doing it, would have resulted in prison. But Natalie was beautiful, charismatic, rich, and a woman. So she never paid, never faced real consequences. Until that Tuesday. Secrets are like poison. You can swallow it, you can hide it, you can pretend it's not there, but eventually it kills you from the inside out. I worked as a producer on the Hidden Voices podcast, a show about true crime, untold stories, inconvenient truths. Owen Parker, the host, was obsessed with finding unique angles, stories no one else was telling. "Claire, are you okay?" Owen appeared at my office door. "You look tense." "I'm fine." I lied automatically. It was what I always did. I was fine. Everything was fine. Natalie was perfect, and I was the lucky sister living in her shadow. "You're lying." Owen sat in the chair opposite my desk. "Look, I know we're not super close, but we've worked together for 2 years, and I've never seen you like this." "Like what?" "Like you're about to explode." He was right. I was about to explode. Years of forced silence, of being an accomplice, of watching Natalie build an empire on lies, while her victim, James Mitchell, still had to move cities, change his number, live in fear that she would reappear. "I have a story for you." The words came out before I could stop them. "For the podcast, a story no one else is telling." Owen leaned forward, that gleam in his eyes he always had when he smelled something big. "I'm listening." "Female stalking," I said. "Everyone talks about men who stalk women, but what about when it's the other way around? When it's a woman stalking a man, and no one takes it seriously because she's beautiful, because she's successful, because women don't do these things." That's brilliant." Owen was excited now. "Do you have a specific story in mind?" "I do." I took a deep breath. "But it's personal, very personal." "How personal?" "My sister." The words came out in a whisper. Natalie, the influencer. The silence that followed was absolute. Owen looked at me as if seeing me for the first time. "Your sister? The Natalie Anderson? With 2 million followers?" 2.3 million now, I corrected bitterly. And yes, that Natalie. The inspiration, the empowered woman, the one who talks about healthy relationships and mutual respect. And she stalked a man for 4 years, I said, each word a release. James Mitchell. He rejected her once, politely, and she wouldn't accept it. For 4 years, she followed him, appeared in places where he was, created fake profiles to monitor him, sent unsolicited gifts, threatened women he dated. She broke into his apartment twice. Saying that out loud to someone outside the family was like opening a dam. Years of forced silence gushing out. My God, Owen was pale. And no one did anything? My parents paid lawyers, my voice was bitter, made deals, silenced people. James tried to get a restraining order 3 times. 3. And every time, my father's lawyers found ways to block it, to make it seem like he was exaggerating, that Natalie was just an enthusiastic fan. That's criminal. I know. Tears burned my eyes. And I was an accomplice for years because my family made me promise never to tell, because it would destroy Natalie, because think of the family, because always, always, Natalie's reputation was more important than the truth. Owen was silent for a long moment. Then, "You want to tell this story on the podcast?" Yes, and it was true. For the first time in years, I was absolutely certain of something. But not anonymously. I want to use names, dates, evidence. I want everyone to know who Natalie Anderson really is. This will destroy your family. I know, my voice was firm. But continuing in silence is destroying me. And James deserves for someone to finally believe him, to finally tell the truth. Okay, Owen nodded slowly. Then, Claire, you need to understand. Once this episode airs, there's no turning back. Your sister will lose everything. Partnerships, followers, career. Your family will hate you. And you'll be the target of millions of her fans. I know. I took a deep breath. And I'm ready. I wasn't. Not really. But some things need to be said, no matter the cost. We spent the next 2 weeks preparing. I brought evidence, messages Natalie had sent to James, which he had shown me, desperate, years ago, begging me to make my sister stop. Photos of her in places where she shouldn't have been. Call records, 47 calls in a single day. Witness accounts I had secretly collected over the years. This is extensive. Owen leafed through the documents. Claire, you documented everything. I needed to, I explained, because I knew that one day, maybe, I'd have the courage to tell. And when I did, I'd need proof, because no one would believe that the perfect Natalie Anderson was capable of this. We also interviewed James. It was devastating. Seeing him after all these years, seeing how broken he was. I moved cities 3 times, he said, his voice tired. Changed my number 6 times. Deleted all social media. And still, she found me. Always found me. How do you feel about Natalie now? Owen asked gently. Terrified, James admitted. Even now, 5 years after she stopped, and she only stopped because she met her current boyfriend, I still look over my shoulder, still panic when I see a blonde woman, still have nightmares where she's in my house, in my room, telling me that we're destined. Natalie didn't just stalk James. She destroyed his ability to trust, to feel safe, to live without fear. And no one cared because she was beautiful and he was a man. Why are you doing this now? James asked me after the recording. After all these years. Because I can't live with the silence anymore, I answered honestly. And because you deserve for someone to finally believe you, to finally say that what she did was wrong. Your family will destroy you, he warned. I know, I smiled sadly. But they already destroyed me, just slowly, over years, forcing me to be an accomplice to something I knew was wrong. The episode was recorded on a Friday. Owen and I worked on the script until 3 a.m., ensuring every fact was correct, every piece of evidence verified, because we knew Natalie and my father's lawyers would come with everything. Last chance to back out, Owen said before we started recording. I won't back out, I replied. Not this time. The episode began with me, my voice, my story. My name is Claire Anderson, and for 8 years, I was a silent accomplice to a crime. My sister, Natalie Anderson, yes, that Natalie Anderson, the influencer you follow, admire, consider an inspiration, spent 4 years obsessively stalking a man who rejected her, and my family paid to silence the truth. Until today. We told everything, every detail, every piece of evidence. James's voice, breaking as he described the terror of being stalked, the call records, the disturbing messages, the trespassing incidents. And in the end, I made an appeal. If you are a fan of Natalie Anderson, if you buy products she promotes, if you consider her an inspiration, I beg you to listen to this story. Really listen, because the person you admire doesn't exist. It's a carefully constructed persona, and beneath it is someone who caused real trauma, real pain, real fear in another person, and never paid for it. We finished recording at 5 a.m. The episode would be released on Monday. Are you sure? Owen asked one last time. I looked at my phone. Natalie had posted another video, something about self-love and knowing your worth. 2 million people had liked it, thousands of comments saying how inspiring, authentic, real she was. I'm sure, I replied. It's time for the truth to come out. Sometimes doing the right thing means destroying everything, your family, your peace, your life as you know it. But continuing to do the wrong thing destroys you from the inside out, and I chose to be destroyed fighting for the truth rather than live comfortably with the lie. The episode aired on a Monday at 6 a.m. By 6:15 a.m., my phone started exploding. The episode went viral in a matter of hours. Not viral in the cute kittens and meme sense, viral in the devastating, nuclear, world is on fire sense. By 8 a.m., hashtag Natalie Anderson Exposed was trending on Twitter. By 9, news sites were republishing the story. By 10, brands began to distance themselves. And at 10:23 a.m., my mother called me. "What did you do?" she screamed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. "Claire, what the hell did you do?" I told the truth. My voice was calm, strangely calm, something that should have been done years ago. "You destroyed your sister!" My mother was crying now. She lost 3 major partnerships. The cosmetics brand canceled the $500,000 contract. Do you have any idea what you've done? I do, I replied. I exposed a stalker, someone who terrorized an innocent man for 4 years, someone you protected because it was more convenient than admitting the truth. "She's your sister! And James is a human being," I yelled back. A human being who had to move cities 3 times, who still has nightmares, who was terrorized for years. But that doesn't matter, does it? Because Natalie's reputation is more important than someone else's life? "You're selfish," my mother hissed. "Always have been. Always jealous of Natalie, of her success, of her beauty." "I'm not jealous of a stalker," I interrupted. "I'm disgusted with Natalie, with you, and with myself for having remained silent for so long." I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from relief. Finally, I had told the truth. Owen appeared in my office minutes later. "Claire, you need to see this." He turned his laptop to me. Natalie's Instagram page was imploding. Thousands of comments, most of them furious. "I trusted you. You're disgusting. How can you talk about healthy relationships when you're a stalker?" And the brands, the brands, one by one posting statements. "Following recent revelations, we have decided to terminate our partnership with Natalie Anderson. We do not condone behavior that our values do not align." "She lost everything," Owen said softly, "in less than 5 hours. All major partnerships, she's losing followers by the thousands. It's devastating." Part of me felt guilty. She was my sister. But the larger part remembered James, crying, telling me how he was still afraid to leave his house, and the guilt disappeared. My father called me in the afternoon. His voice was cold, controlled, somehow worse than my mother screaming. "Claire, you need to make a statement. Say you exaggerated, that you were angry, that—" "No," I interrupted. "No." He seemed genuinely shocked, as if the possibility of me saying no had never occurred to him. "No," I repeated. "Every word I said was true. Every piece of evidence I presented is verifiable, and I'm not going to retract it just because Natalie is now facing consequences." "You destroyed your sister," my father said, and there was so much contempt in his voice. "You were always the invisible daughter, always in Natalie's shadow. And now you've finally found a way to be seen." The words hurt, I won't lie. They hurt deeply. If you truly believe that, I said slowly, then you don't know me. And perhaps you never did. Because I didn't do this for attention, Dad. I did it because it was the right thing to do. Something you should have done years ago. You're out of the will, he said, as if that were the worst possible threat. Do you understand that? You won't see a penny. Good, I replied, because I don't want blood money, money that was used to silence victims and protect a criminal. I hung up before he could respond. Natalie posted a video that night. She was crying, not the delicate, photogenic crying she did in emotional videos. Real, ugly, desperate crying. I made mistakes, she sobbed into the camera. I admit it. When I was younger, I fell in love with someone who didn't reciprocate, and I didn't handle it well. But that was years ago. I've changed. I've grown. And my own sister, someone I loved, betrayed me in the worst possible way. The comments were mixed now. Some still furious, others starting to feel sorry. Everyone makes mistakes. She was young. Her sister exaggerated. And that's when Owen and I released the second episode. Because we had kept the worst evidence. The messages Natalie sent to James threatening suicide if he didn't talk to her. The photos of her inside his apartment. Photos she had taken herself and sent to him, proving she had trespassed. The police report from when she assaulted a woman James was dating. Natalie Anderson wants you to believe this was a youthful mistake. My voice on the podcast was firm. But stalking isn't a mistake. It's a crime. And it didn't happen when she was 18, 19. It happened from 23 to 27. She was an adult, fully aware of her actions. And when confronted, when James begged her to stop, she escalated. We played an audio clip. James, his voice trembling, reading one of Natalie's messages. If you don't love me, then I don't want to live. I'm going to do something drastic, and it will be your fault. You made me this way. You destroyed me. If I die, it will be because you killed me. The silence that followed was deafening. That's manipulation, Owen said on the podcast. That's emotional abuse. That's using a suicide threat as a weapon to control another person. And Natalie did it repeatedly for years. The second episode was even bigger than the first, because now it wasn't just my word against hers. It was indisputable evidence. The brands that were still on the fence, all canceled. Every single one. Natalie's followers dropped from 2.3 million to 800,000 in 2 days. And then other victims started coming forward. A woman named Rebecca posted a video on TikTok. Natalie Anderson did the same thing to me in college. I dated a guy she liked. She stalked me for months, spread rumors, put laxatives in my drink at a party. I never spoke up because who would believe me? She was popular, rich, beautiful, and I was nobody. Then came another account, and another, and another. A pattern emerged. Natalie hadn't just stalked James. He was just the most extreme case. She had a history of obsessive behavior, of not accepting rejection, of destroying anyone who stood in the way of what she wanted. Secrets are like cockroaches. When you turn on the light and see one, there are always more hiding in the shadows. My family cut me off completely, blocked me everywhere. My mother posted a statement on Facebook saying I was no longer part of the Anderson family. My father hired lawyers, threatening to sue me for defamation. Let them try, Owen said when I told him. Every word you said is true, documented, verified. They have no case. But it wasn't the lawyers I was worried about. It was Natalie's fans, the ones who still believed her, the ones who saw me as the villain. Death threats filled my inbox. You destroyed an innocent woman. You're envious and pathetic. You should die. You need to go to the police, Owen insisted. These threats are serious. I know, but part of me was numb, as if I had used up all my capacity for fear when recording that first episode. Sophia appeared at my door on a Thursday night. Sophia Chen, my best friend from high school, until Natalie decided she was a bad influence and my parents agreed. I saw the podcast, she said when I opened the door. And I needed to see you, to tell you that you're brave, that you did the right thing. Sophia, tears burned my eyes. It's been so long. I know, she hugged me. And I'm sorry for letting Natalie push me away, for not fighting harder. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. We cried together that night, for lost years, for destroyed friendship, for everything Natalie had taken from us. She did the same thing to me, Sophia said eventually. Not stalking, but manipulation. I was dating a guy my senior year of high school. Natalie decided she wanted him, so she spread rumors about me, made me seem crazy. And when he broke up with me and started dating her, she got tired of him in 2 weeks. Why did you never tell me? Because you were her sister, Sophia said simply, and I didn't want to put you in that position. But now you're already in that position, and you chose the right side. How many other stories were there? How many other people had Natalie hurt, manipulated, destroyed? And how many would never speak because they were afraid, ashamed, or simply didn't believe anyone would listen? If you're enjoying this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing the right thing? Share in the comments. A week after the second episode, Natalie did something no one expected. She scheduled a live interview with one of the country's biggest TV shows, primetime, millions of viewers. She's going to try to redeem herself, Owen said when we saw the announcement. Try to control the narrative again. Let her try, I replied. The truth is already out there. But I was nervous because Natalie was good at this, at manipulating, at making people believe her. And in a live interview, with carefully rehearsed tears and apologies, she could turn the tide. The interview was on a Friday night. Sophia, Owen, and I watched together at my apartment, all tense. Natalie was perfect, of course. Simple but elegant dress, minimal makeup, just enough to look natural but still beautiful. Hair in soft waves. She looked vulnerable, human, real. Natalie, thank you for being here. The interviewer, Monica Chen, was known for being tough but fair. Let's get straight to the point. Your sister has made serious accusations. Stalking, harassment, abusive behavior. What do you have to say? Natalie took a deep breath, tears already forming. Monica, I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. When I was in my early 20s, I fell in love with someone who didn't reciprocate, and I didn't handle it well. I was too persistent, I crossed lines, and for that, I am deeply, deeply sorry. Too persistent? Monica raised an eyebrow. Natalie, there's evidence that you broke into his apartment twice, threatened suicide to manipulate him, assaulted a woman he was dating. This goes beyond too persistent. I was in a very dark place mentally. I was dealing with depression, anxiety. I'm not using that as an excuse, but as context. I needed help and I didn't seek it. And as a result, I hurt people, especially James. And for that, I am profoundly, profoundly regretful. She was good, very good. Vulnerable but not pathetic. Remorseful but not desperate. Exactly the right tone to make people feel sorry for her. And your sister? Monica asked. Claire. She says your family forced her to remain silent for years, that they paid lawyers to cover up your behavior. Claire, Natalie paused, as if the pain was too much. Claire always had difficulty with my success. I love my sister, but there's jealousy there. Always has been. And I think she saw an opportunity to finally be the center of attention, to finally be seen. Bitch, Sophia yelled at the TV. She's turning this against you. Quiet, Owen held my arm. Wait. But Natalie, Monica continued, there's evidence. Messages, photos, police reports, multiple witnesses. How do you explain that? The evidence is real, Natalie admitted. I don't deny what I did, but the context Claire presented is distorted. She took the worst moments of a very dark period in my life and painted it as who I am. as if it defined my entire existence. And the other victims? Monica wasn't letting up. Since the story broke, several other people have come forward with similar stories. Rebecca Thompson, Marcus Liu, Sophia Chen, all alleging you had obsessive, manipulative behavior. Are all these people lying too? Natalie hesitated. For just a fraction of a second, her mask slipped. Then it returned. I don't remember all those situations. But if I hurt those people, if my behavior caused pain, I am truly sorry. From the bottom of my heart. You don't remember? Monica pressed. Or are you choosing not to remember? I was in a very dark place, Natalie began. You've said that, Monica interrupted her, multiple times. But Natalie, at some point, dark place stops being an explanation and becomes an excuse. You were an adult. You had resources, money, access to therapy, family support, and yet you chose to terrorize people for years. The studio fell silent. Natalie looked at Monica as if she had been slapped. I didn't choose. You chose, Monica said firmly. Every time you showed up at James's house uninvited, you chose. Every time you created a fake profile to monitor him, you chose. Every time your parents offered to pay for therapy and you refused because you didn't need it, you chose. Monica Chen was doing what no one else had done, holding Natalie accountable. Not accepting excuses, not letting pretty tears erase ugly actions. Do you think your sister was right to expose you publicly? No, Natalie said immediately. She could have come to me, talked to me privately, but she chose public humiliation. She chose to destroy my career, my reputation, my life. Why? Because she always wanted what I had. Or, Monica counter-argued, because you never faced real consequences, because your family always protected you. And Claire decided that the truth was more important than protecting your image. The truth? Natalie laughed, a bitter sound. The truth is my sister hates me, always has, and she finally found a way to destroy me. If she hates you, Monica said calmly, maybe it's because you gave her reasons. The interview ended shortly after. Natalie left the studio in tears. Real tears this time, not performative. My phone exploded. Messages from people who had watched. Most supportive. Monica Chen is a queen. She didn't let Natalie get away with it. Finally, someone holding her accountable. But there were other messages too, from Natalie's fans, furious. You destroyed a woman who was clearly suffering. You're cruel. You have no heart. Ignore them, Sophia said, taking my phone. They're just people who don't want to believe their perfect influencer isn't perfect. Owen received a call. He answered, listened for a moment, then his eyes widened. Seriously? When? Yes, we can do that. Thank you. He hung up and looked at me. That was from Monica's show's production. They want you next week to tell your side, live. My stomach churned. I don't know if I can. You can, Sophia held my hand. And you should. Because Natalie had her chance to speak. Now it's your turn. She was right. But the idea of being on TV, in front of millions, telling the most painful story of my life, it was terrifying. I'll be there, Owen promised. In the audience, supporting you. Me too, Sophia added. And you're not alone in this, Claire. Not anymore. I spent the following week preparing. Monica and her team called me daily, reviewing questions, making sure I was comfortable. They wanted me to bring James too, but he refused. I can't, he said when I called. Seeing Natalie again, even just on TV, I can't. But Claire, I support you, completely. And if you need anything, any additional evidence, I have it. The night before the interview, my mother sent me a message. The first in weeks. If you do this, if you go on that show and continue this defamation campaign against your sister, you will never be my daughter again. Do you understand that? You will be dead to me. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. Then I guess I'm dead, because I'm going to tell the truth, and if that means losing a mother who never truly loved me, then so be it. I blocked the number before she could reply. There's a strange freedom in losing everything. When there's nothing left to lose, you can finally be completely honest. The TV studio was bigger than I imagined. Bright lights, cameras everywhere. An audience of 200 people, all looking at me. Monica Chen greeted me backstage. Claire, thank you for being here. I know this isn't easy. Nothing about this has been easy, I admitted. I know. She held my hand. But you're doing the right thing, and I promise I'll give you space to tell your story, all of it. When the cameras turned on, when Monica introduced me, my heart was racing. But then I saw Owen and Sophia in the audience, and I remembered why I was there. Claire Anderson, thank you for being here, Monica began. Last week, your sister Natalie sat in this same chair and told her version. Today, you will tell yours. Let's start from the beginning. When did you realize Natalie had a problem? I took a deep breath. I was 18. Natalie was 21. She met James at a party and became obsessed. Instantly. She talked about him constantly, how they were destined, how he was the one. And did James reciprocate those feelings? No, I shook my head. He politely rejected her, said he was focused on his career, that he wasn't looking for a relationship. He was kind, respectful. And Natalie didn't accept it. I told everything, every incident, every escalation. The first time she showed up at his apartment uninvited, the incessant calls, the fake profiles, the trespassing. And your family? Monica asked. Did they know? They knew, I confirmed. James went to my parents, desperate, begging them to make Natalie stop. And they paid him to be quiet. $20,000, not to go to the police, not to ruin Natalie's reputation. Murmurs in the audience. Monica raised her hand for silence. Do you have proof of this? I do. I picked up an envelope. This is the contract James signed, non-disclosure agreement. He gave me permission to show this today. Monica examined the document. This is a legal agreement to silence a stalking victim. Yes, my voice was firm, and it wasn't the only one. There were others. Rebecca Thompson, Natalie paid her $15,000 to not talk about the laxative incident. Marcus Leo, $10,000 to not press charges when Natalie broke into his car. Your family essentially bought the silence of Natalie's victims? Yes, tears burned my eyes, and forced me to be an accomplice. Every time I suggested Natalie needed help, that her behavior was criminal, my mother would say I was being dramatic, that I was jealous, that I should support my sister. Saying that out loud on national TV to millions of people was the most liberating and most terrifying thing I had ever done. Natalie claimed you did this out of jealousy, Monica said. That I never wanted Natalie's life, I replied. Honestly, I wanted her to be held accountable. There's a difference. Monica, my sister terrorized people, caused real trauma, and never faced consequences because she was beautiful, rich, and had a family willing to cover up her crimes. Crimes, Monica repeated. You're calling your sister's actions crimes? Because they are, I said firmly. Stalking is a crime. Trespassing is a crime. Assault is a crime. And if Natalie were a man, if James were a woman, everyone would see that. But because it's the opposite, people minimize it. They say she was in love, that she didn't know how to handle rejection, as if that's an excuse. The audience applauded. Not all, but many. Do you regret publicly exposing your sister? Monica asked. No, I replied without hesitation. I regret not having done it sooner. For having been an accomplice for so long. For having prioritized family peace over the truth. And your family? Have they cut you off completely? Yes. My voice cracked. My mother said I'm dead to her. My father cut me out of the will. Natalie hates me. And part of me is broken by that. Because despite everything, they are still my family. But I couldn't live with the silence anymore. Tears streamed down my face now. I couldn't be an accomplice to something I knew was wrong anymore. And if that means losing my family, then I lose them. Because some things are more important than family loyalty, like truth, like justice, like protecting innocent victims. Monica was silent for a moment. Then, "We have a surprise for you, Claire." My heart stopped. A surprise? James Mitchell is here, backstage. He changed his mind. He wants to speak. The world spun. James, here, after everything. He walked onto the stage, and I could see how much it cost him. His hands trembled, his face was pale. But he was here. "James, thank you for being here," Monica said gently. "I know this isn't easy." "It isn't," he admitted. "But Claire was brave enough to tell the truth. The least I can do is support her. Tell us, in your own words, what Natalie Anderson did to you." And he told. Everything. Every horrific detail. The audience was absolutely silent, some openly crying. "The worst part," James said, his voice breaking, "wasn't the trespassing. It wasn't the threats. It was the fact that no one believed me. I went to the police and they laughed. 'A beautiful woman stalking you? You should feel lucky.' I told friends and they said I was exaggerating. 'She just likes you, man. Relax.' As if stalking was flattering," Monica said. "Exactly," James nodded. "And when her family offered me money to stay quiet, I accepted because I was exhausted, terrified, and no one was going to help me anyway. So I took the money, moved cities, and tried to rebuild my life. And now, how do you feel about Claire exposing this?" "Grateful," James looked at me. For the first time in years, someone believed me. Someone said that what happened to me was wrong, and that means everything. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying your enemy. It's simply telling the truth and letting the natural consequences take their course. Monica turned to the camera. Natalie Anderson was invited to respond to these allegations. She declined, but she sent this statement. On the screen, words appeared. Natalie's official statement. "I maintain that I have been unfairly portrayed. Yes, I made mistakes, but I am not the monster my sister paints. I will pursue legal action for defamation." The audience booed, really booed. "Defamation?" Monica said dryly. "Interesting, considering everything Claire presented is verifiable and documented. James, do you plan to sue?" "I should," James said, "but honestly, I just want to move on. I want Natalie to stay away from me, permanently. And I want other victims, especially men who have been stalked by women, to know it's okay to speak up, that they're not weak, that what happened to them was real and wrong." The interview ended with a standing ovation, the entire audience on their feet, applauding. Backstage, James hugged me. "Thank you," he whispered, "for finally believing me." "I always believed you," I replied. "I just didn't have the courage to speak until now." "You had courage when it mattered," he said, "and that's everything." 3 months after the interview, my life was unrecognizable, but this time in ways I never imagined. The podcast episode had been downloaded 15 million times. 15 million! It had sparked a national conversation about female stalking, about how male victims are ignored, about how money and privilege can buy silence. Natalie had lost everything. All partnerships. Her Instagram account was suspended after repeated violations of terms of service. Her YouTube channel demonetized. She tried to sue for defamation, but the lawyers dropped the case when they saw the evidence. Last I heard, she was living with my parents, hidden from the world. Part of me felt not exactly pity, but something complex. She was my sister, and despite everything, there were good memories. Before the stalking, before the obsession, when we were just two sisters. But those memories didn't erase what she had done, the lives she destroyed, the trauma she caused. "Do you still think about her?" Owen asked one Friday afternoon. We were in the podcast office, planning the next season. Every day, I admitted, but not with anger, just with sadness for what could have been. The podcast had grown exponentially. We now had real sponsors, a proper studio, a team, and I had been promoted, not just producer, but co-host. "You're good at this," Owen said. "Telling stories, making people care. You should do more." And I did. We started a series about forgotten victims, people whose stories were never told because they didn't fit convenient narratives, men who were abused by women, women who were manipulated by other women, children who were failed by the system. Each episode was a way to honor what James had been through, to ensure other victims were heard. James and I became friends. Not close. The trauma Natalie caused was still there, creating a barrier, but friends. He had started his own organization, Support for Male Victims of Stalking. "You inspired this," he said when he launched it. "Your courage to speak up made me realize I could help others." Sophia came back into my life completely. It was as if the lost years had never happened, except now we were wiser, more cautious, more grateful for the friendship. "You saved my life, she said one night as we drank wine at my apartment. Not literally, but seeing you confront Natalie, seeing you choose truth over family, made me realize I could also make difficult choices." "What do you mean?" "I was in a toxic relationship," she admitted, "for years, and I stayed because it was easier than leaving. But after seeing you, I left, and my life is infinitely better." Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't just change your life, it changes the lives of everyone around you. It creates ripples that spread in ways you never imagined. My parents never contacted me, not once. I had sent a few messages, attempts at reconciliation, to explain my side, all ignored. Eventually, I stopped trying, because you can't force people to see you. You can't force people to choose truth over comfort. But my cousin Daniel called me. "Claire, I need to tell you something. I always knew Natalie was problematic. I saw things over the years, and I never spoke up because it was easier not to." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because you were brave," he said simply, "and that made me realize I was a coward. So I'm speaking now. To you, to anyone who will listen. Natalie needs help, real help, and our family needs to stop protecting her." Other family members started appearing, aunts, uncles, cousins, all with stories about Natalie, about behavior they had ignored, excused, minimized. "She was always like this," Aunt Rachel told me, "since she was little. Obsessive, wouldn't take no for an answer. And your parents, they always protected her." It was validation, but it was also sad, because it meant this could have been avoided if someone had intervened early, if my parents had sought help for Natalie instead of covering up. Natalie tried to return to social media a few times, new profiles, new identities, but people always found out, and she was kicked off again. "She'll never get over this," Owen commented. "The internet never forgets." "Good," I said, and I didn't feel bad about it. Because her victims will never forget either. At least now, there are consequences. I received a letter from Natalie 6 months after the interview, sent to the podcast office, handwritten. "Claire, I hate you. I hate you more than I thought it was possible to hate anyone. You destroyed my life, my career, my reputation, everything. But you were also right. I need help, real help. Not superficial therapy that mom and dad paid for to make me feel better, but real help to understand why I am this way, why I can't accept rejection, why I destroy the things I want. I'm in treatment now." Intensive treatment. Obsessive personality disorder, the doctor said. Behavior patterns established in childhood, exacerbated by never facing consequences. This is not an excuse. Nothing excuses what I did to James, to Rebecca, to everyone else. But it is an explanation. I don't expect forgiveness, not from you, not from anyone. But I wanted you to know, you saved me. By exposing me, by forcing me to face what I am, you saved me from becoming something even worse. One day, maybe, we can talk. Not as sisters, that's broken beyond repair, but as two people who share blood and history and trauma. But not today. Today, I need to focus on fixing myself, if that's even possible. N. I cried when I read it, not from sadness, not from anger, but from relief. Because for the first time, Natalie was taking real responsibility. "Are you going to respond?" Sophia asked. "Eventually," I said, "but not now. She's right. She needs to focus on fixing herself, and I need to focus on moving forward." And I was moving forward. The podcast was thriving. I had real friends, real purpose, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't living in anyone's shadow. "You look happy," Owen commented one morning. "I am," I realized. For the first time in ever, I think. "Even without your family?" "Especially without my family," I corrected, "because they were never real family. Family doesn't force you to be an accomplice to crimes. Family doesn't make you choose between loyalty and morality." "So what is family?" Owen asked. I looked around, at Owen, at Sophia, at the podcast team members, at James, who had sent me flowers when I got the promotion, at my cousin Daniel, who now had lunch with me every week. "This," I said simply, "people who choose you, who support you when you do the right thing, even when it's hard, who see you, value you, love you, not despite your choices, but because of them." Family isn't about blood, it's about choice, about who stays when everything falls apart, about who loves you not out of obligation, but for who you truly are. A year after the podcast, I was at an awards event. Hidden Voices had been nominated for Best True Crime Podcast. I was nervous, uncomfortable with the attention. "And the winner is," the presenter opened the envelope, "Hidden Voices for the episode The Invisible Side of Stalking." The room erupted in applause. Owen pulled me onto the stage, both of us in shock. Wow, Owen spoke into the microphone. "We didn't expect this. This episode was difficult, personal, and it wouldn't have happened without my co-host, Claire Anderson." He handed me the microphone. I looked at the audience, hundreds of people, all looking at me. "A year ago," I began, my voice trembling, "I made the most difficult choice of my life. To expose my sister, to tell a truth my family had hidden for years. And it cost me everything, my family, my peace, my sense of security." Pause, deep breath. "But it also gave me everything. Purpose, true friends, the ability to look in the mirror and respect who I see. And if I could go back, knowing everything I know now, I would do it all again." The audience rose, standing ovation, for me, for my courage, for finally telling the truth. And in that moment, I knew I had made the right choice. This story teaches us that family loyalty does not mean being an accomplice to criminal behavior, that sometimes the most loving act is to expose the truth, even when it destroys relationships, that real consequences are necessary for real change. Female stalking is real and devastating, but male victims are often ignored, ridiculed, not taken seriously. We need to change that narrative. We need to believe victims, regardless of gender. Doing the right thing is rarely easy. It often costs everything. But living with silence, being an accomplice to injustice, costs your soul. And some things, like integrity, like truth, like justice, are worth any price. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Leave in the comments, have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing the right thing? How did you handle it? Remember, you are not responsible for protecting people from the consequences of their own actions. You are responsible for living with integrity. And you, what do you value more, family peace or truth and justice?